Nathan had always been fascinated by the thrill of discovery. Armed with his metal detector, he would wander through secluded areas around town, hoping to unearth lost treasures. One sunny morning, his detector suddenly went wild. Heart pounding, Nathan dug through the soil, uncovering what appeared to be the wing of an old aircraft. As he brushed away the dirt, a series of worn insignias and markings emerged, shocking him to his core. "Wow," he whispered, hardly believing his eyes. He'd already found a vintage watch earlier that day, but this discovery was far more extraordinary. Grabbing his small hand shovel, he carefully cleared more of the dirt. Nathan imagined he was an archaeologist uncovering a long-lost relic. Hours passed as he unearthed more of the aircraft, now realizing it was an entire plane hidden under years of foliage and soil. The sun began to set, casting a golden glow over his incredible find. Knowing he wouldn't sleep a wink with this on his mind, Nathan marked the location on Google Maps, snapped a few photos, and hurried home, eager to return in the morning. Back at home, he couldn't shake the urge to share his discovery but hesitated, fearing that bringing in others would mean losing control over his investigation. He decided to keep the find a secret, at least for now. Early the next day, he returned to the site, his heart racing with anticipation. As he inspected the plane, he noticed strange symbols along the fuselage insignias that felt oddly familiar. Nathan began taking photos of everything, feeling like a detective piecing together clues. Suddenly, he heard a rustling in the bushes. Holding his breath, he watched two men emerge, their faces tense as they surveyed the plane. One muttered, "Oh no," clearly alarmed by the discovery. They spoke in hushed voices about relocating the plane and left quickly, leaving Nathan both scared and thrilled. After the men left, Nathan carefully emerged from his hiding spot and returned to the plane, curiosity overcoming his fear. He peeled away the foliage the men had hastily used to cover it, exposing the markings once more. Examining the cockpit, he cautiously opened it, his fingers brushing over dusty controls and cracked dials. He marveled at the relic before him but knew this discovery was more than just an abandoned aircraft. Digging deeper around the plane's exterior, he noticed a loose metal panel. With a bit of prying, he revealed a hidden logbook, wedged tightly between two support beams. As he flipped through its pages, he found hastily scribbled notes, signatures, and maps clues that hinted at the plane's past. He snapped photos of each page before carefully securing the logbook in his bag, determined to unravel the mystery later. Back home, Nathan spent hours comparing the plane's insignias to military records and aircraft databases, but nothing matched perfectly. Frustration mounted as he sifted through record after record, piecing together only fragments of a larger story. Realizing he needed more information, he decided to revisit the crash site for further clues. The next morning, he packed his gear, flashlight, gloves, and a camera and returned to the aircraft. Once again, he found the site undisturbed, but his sense of urgency grew. Scanning every corner of the aircraft, he noticed faint markings that appeared to correlate with coordinates in the logbook. As he documented everything, a local diner patron's mention of a ghost plane lost in the woods years ago echoed in his mind. Determined to learn more, he visited the town's historical society and library. There, he found old newspaper clippings describing a mysterious plane that had vanished decades prior, stirring up rumors of government cover-ups and hidden secrets. The librarian, whispering conspiratorially, mentioned that the military had cordoned off the area back then, keeping people away. Fueled by these rumors, Nathan dug deeper into the archives. He uncovered reports from the 1960s describing a missing plane, followed by unusual military activity in the forest. Locals recalled soldiers guarding certain areas, fueling speculation that the plane was linked to classified government operations. Intrigued by the librarian's tales of cover-ups, Nathan knew he was onto something significant. As he continued his research, strange things began to happen. Notes appeared under his door, warning him to abandon his investigation, and anonymous calls advised him to let it go. Even his home internet became unreliable, frequently disconnecting when he searched certain topics. Undeterred, he decided to use the library's resources instead, hoping to avoid further interference. However, his sessions at the library were also disrupted by system crashes and data losses whenever he accessed military records. Suspicious, Nathan began saving his findings on a flash drive, switching computers frequently, but the strange interruptions persisted. Convinced someone was trying to stop him, he started taking handwritten notes, documenting his findings in a secure journal he kept hidden. Returning to the crash site under cover of night, Nathan staked out the area, binoculars in hand. Hours passed, and just as he was about to leave, a convoy of unmarked vehicles arrived. He watched as men with scanning equipment carefully inspected the site, focusing on specific sections of the plane. With his camera, Nathan recorded every moment, noting how they collected samples and meticulously examined certain areas. After the men left, he combed through the spots they had inspected, uncovering another set of markings that matched entries in the logbook. It was clear these men knew the plane's history and were there to keep it hidden. Back in town, Nathan started piecing together clues from the logbook with dates, coordinates, and entries that hinted at a covert military mission. Nathan's findings pointed to a Cold War-era mission shrouded in secrecy. The logbook entries referenced covert operations, with coded locations and symbols that began to align with historical hotspots. As he dug further, he uncovered faint links to intelligence-gathering efforts that the military had likely concealed. This plane hadn't just disappeared, it had been deliberately hidden, perhaps after an operation gone wrong. As he continued his research, he started receiving more ominous warnings. Slips of paper appeared under his door, urging him to abandon his search, and his phone rang with anonymous calls advising him to stop. His internet connection became increasingly unreliable, cutting out whenever he delved into specific records. Deciding the library was safer, he combed through declassified files there, piecing together fragments of the plane's story. Each new revelation pointed to a deeper conspiracy, and Nathan knew he was treading on dangerous ground. Back at the crash site, he discovered a concealed compartment beneath the cockpit. Inside were containers marked with biohazard symbols, along with aged surveillance equipment, bearing the same secret insignias he'd seen in his research. The symbols hinted at a mission involving biological surveillance, and the canisters suggested that the plane had been part of a sensitive operation with potentially global consequences. Nathan's discovery only deepened the mystery. Was this plane part of a mission to gather intelligence on enemy threats, or had it carried something far more dangerous? The answers were tantalizingly close, but he knew he couldn't go public without risking severe repercussions. Determined to learn the full truth, Nathan returned home with a plan. He spent days analyzing his notes, tracing the flight paths and connections that linked the plane to known Cold War espionage sites. As Nathan mapped the aircraft's route, he noticed a pattern suggesting intelligence gathering stops at strategic locations. Each coordinate seemed to align with historical flashpoints, hinting at a covert mission with far-reaching implications. With a growing list of clues, he hypothesized that the crew had encountered trouble mid-mission, forcing an emergency landing and subsequent cover-up. However, the deeper he delved, the more ominous his findings became. Military documents hinted at operations designed to avoid public knowledge, with the insignias on the plane linking it to a unit renowned for clandestine espionage. Rumors hinted at missions that had been scrubbed from official records, leaving no trace except for Nathan's discovery. The implications weighed heavily on him. His findings suggested that revealing the plane's purpose could have severe diplomatic consequences. Each symbol, note, and coordinate he uncovered painted a picture of an operation so sensitive it had been erased from history. Just as he began consolidating his research, he returned to the crash site one last time to gather final evidence. Under the moonlight, he meticulously searched the plane's interior, his flashlight revealing hidden compartments and additional markings. Inside one of these compartments, he found an old dossier stamped top secret and a bundle of faded maps. These documents confirmed his suspicions the plane had been part of a biological surveillance mission, its purpose buried under decades of secrecy. Suddenly, footsteps crunched nearby. Before he could react, the two men from before emerged, revealing themselves as government agents. They cornered him, sternly warning him of the risks his investigation posed to national security. The agents moved closer, their expressions cold and unwavering. "This is classified," one of them stated, eyeing the documents in Nathan's hands. Reluctantly, he handed over the dossier and maps, feeling the weight of their scrutiny. They explained that the aircraft had been involved in a highly sensitive Cold War mission, one that couldn't be exposed without endangering international relations. Nathan listened as they outlined the mission's importance and warned him of the repercussions if the information were disclosed. They emphasized that the aircraft's purpose was to gather biological data, a task deemed crucial to national security during a tense global period. The stakes, they said, went beyond personal curiosity, they affected international stability. Despite his principles, Nathan found himself torn. On one hand, he wanted the truth to be known. On the other, he understood the agent's argument, the delicate balance between transparency and protecting history's darker secrets. The agents offered him a deal: they would ensure the site and its secrets remained concealed if he agreed to stay silent. They assured him they weren't making threats but simply urging him to consider the broader implications. After a moment's hesitation, Nathan nodded, recognizing the gravity of the situation. He had glimpsed a hidden chapter of history, but the risks of sharing it were too great. The agents thanked him, and with somber expressions they began securing the site, removing every trace of the plane and its classified contents. As the sun rose, Nathan took a final, lingering look at the aircraft, now being dismantled piece by piece. The relic of his discovery, a small insignia fragment he kept as a memento, would be his only reminder of the plane's story. With the agent's presence at the site, every piece of the aircraft was swiftly packed into containers and loaded into unmarked vehicles. The wreckage, once a monument to a lost era, was disappearing before Nathan's eyes. In mere hours, the forest would hold no trace of the plane or the mission it once carried. As he watched the agents clear away the last fragments, he felt a profound mixture of relief and loss. Returning home, Nathan placed the small insignia fragment on his desk, next to his notes and logbook photos. This journey had changed him, granting a rare glimpse into the shadowy intersections of history, secrecy, and duty. He couldn't help but ponder the ethical dilemma he faced should certain truths remain buried, or did the public deserve to know? Though he would never reveal what he'd discovered, the memory stayed with him. He found himself replaying the events in his mind, every hidden symbol and whispered warning shaping a new understanding of the world. Nathan knew that he had crossed paths with a secret that would remain locked in his mind, a story forever unsolved. In the end, he was left with his solitary keepsake, a faintly marked metal fragment. It served as a silent reminder of the mystery he had uncovered yet agreed to protect. As days passed, he often felt its cool surface, a token of a truth hidden from the world but known, in part, to him alone.